here or... Excuse me? Yes. Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Wrinkle in Time. Good morning. I welcome you to Unity Center of Pittsburgh on this first day of Daylight Savings Time. We're an hour ahead of ourselves and getting ready for St. Patty's Day, so here we go. I'm Jan Kaylin, and I will be your service leader this morning. David Hawkins is our wonderful musician. Yay, David. And we are so grateful you are here with us, whether you are here in person or here outside of in person on the remotes, TVs, etc. Bless you and welcome. So you know that we have come together to celebrate the truth of our divine nature. Unity is a new thought spiritual philosophy, which affirms there is one loving and creative power in the universe, and there is no separation between this loving God energy and ourselves, because indeed we are divine spiritual beings having this human experience together, sometimes easy, sometimes tricky, sometimes a wrinkle in time. So our message this morning will be presented by Michael Quinn about unfathomable creation, or is it? So let's join together as we read our mission and vision statements. Coming up, here we go. We envision a spiritually awakened world flowing with divine love. We are an inclusive, loving, growing community dedicated to teach, inspire, and practice positive spiritual living. And now let's have Down by the Riverside with David Hawkins.
Gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside. Don't let my Christ light shine. I'm gonna let my Christ light shine. I'm gonna let my Christ light shine. Christ light shine. Let my Christ light shine. I'm gonna let my Christ light shine. Gonna let my Christ light shine. Gonna let. There are about 3 versions of this song going through my head at the same time here. You can sing whichever one you want. I'm gonna conquer my weakness down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna conquer my weakness down by the riverside. I'm gonna let my Christ reside. I'm gonna let my Christ light shine. I'm gonna let my Christ light shine. Christ light shine. Gonna let my Christ light shine. I'm gonna let my Christ light shine. Gonna let my Christ light shine. My heart to God down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna open my heart to God down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna let my Christ light shine. I'm gonna let my Christ light shine. Gonna let my Christ light shine. Gonna let my Christ light shine. I'm gonna let my Christ light shine. Gonna let my Christ shine. Thank you for your help, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, David. All right, let's do our opening prayer. Divine Creator, we thank you for this life that we are expressing. We realize that we are the channels through which God's power flows in peace and love. We release our fears and open our minds to the eternal love that blesses and supports us. We are filled with energy and strength. We are inspired with understanding. We are full of gratitude, and with certainty we say amen. And so it is. So each Sunday we light the Christ candle. The Christ candle represents the God energy that exists with all of us and divine truth. This is the light in all of us, and the Christ candle represents that. We affirm this love and light is omnipresent. It is our intention to bring it forth and shine brightly into the world. So remember, the light is always there. And as Jesus reminded us, you are the light. So let's say our unity principles together. God is the source and creator of all. There is no other enduring power. God is good and present everywhere. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking. Through prayer and meditation, we increase our conscious contact with God bringing forth love, wisdom, health, prosperity, and everything good. Knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. David, my quiet friend.
I had a friend who referred to a friend of his as his quiet friend. And for some reason that phrase stuck in my head, and this song wrote itself at some point. We sit and I do most of the talking. My quiet friend and we sit and I talk about my sadness. I talk about my pain. I talk about my failures and my love, and my love. My friend mostly listens and tells me it's alright. Someday I might hear. Oh, someday I might hear. Oh, someday I might hear my quiet friend. Well, my friend mostly listens and tells me it's alright. Someday I might hear. Oh, someday I might hear. Oh, someday I might hear my quiet friend. Ooh, my quiet friend. Ooh, my quiet friend.
Beautiful, Michael. Thank you so much. David. Beautiful David. So let's do the daily word, shall we? The daily word today is illuminate. And the affirmation is, I welcome the light. Taking the moment to appreciate the beauty of a sunset, I realize that in another part of the world, the first rays of a rising sun are bringing light to a morning sky. Whether I can see it or not, the sun never stops shining. Somewhere, a new day is dawning. Much more brilliantly than the sun, the light of God, too, is always shining. Sometimes, my thoughts may be so focused on a challenging life situation that I do not sense that divine light. Then, in a flash of insight, I experience again the illuminating presence that, even in my darkest moments, is as near as my next thought. I affirm, let there be light. I breathe out frustration and worry. Breathing in, I am filled with the light of truth that illuminates my mind and shines from within my heart. And from Genesis, then God said, let there be light. And there was light. So let's say our daily word affirmation 3 times together. I welcome the light. I welcome the light. I welcome the light. Now it's a time for us to bless the children. Bring into your mind the children in your lives, your family and friends. Hold in your heart the children you know and love, and let that love expand and flow to all children everywhere. May each child share God's love and kindness, growing into their own true spiritual potential. May they receive praise and encouragement and always be loved as their true spiritual selves. And may they know the divine presence lives within each one of them. We recognize and honor all children everywhere and bless them as the true light of God. Now let's bring into our mind's eye all those who are in need of uplifted prayer. We see these individuals and situations surrounded and nourished by the healing balm of our love and light. We see radiant health and wholeness, comfort for those in distress, resolution to conflicts, wisdom and guidance for leaders of the world, and peaceful collaboration in all relationships. And let's hold our spiritual leader, Marianne Hackworth, and her husband, Jim, in the love and light of complete healing as they recover from the COVID diagnosis they received this week. And as we envision the heart of humanity expanding with divine love and healing, let's join in song with David. I am opening up in sweet surrender.
I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening.
It's time for our meditation, and I'll be leading you through a guided meditation. I'll speak for a few minutes, and then we'll have a little bit of silence, and then I'll bring you back. So make yourself comfortable as you settle into your chair and put all distractions aside. Relax the weight of your body into your chair. Breathe deeply and slowly, feeling your breath moving in and out of your body. Notice any part of your body that wants attention. Allow it to be, knowing you are the perfect living expression of love, peace, and wholeness. Notice any distracting thoughts that come up. Bless them and let them go. And feelings that you may be feeling or experiencing, worry, anxiety, sadness, or discomfort, allow them to be, knowing you are in harmony, balance, and well-being right here, right now. Feel your head and eyes relaxing, your jaw and throat, your shoulders relaxing. Relaxation flowing down to your arms and hands, flowing over your chest into your abdomen and pelvis, easing down through your thighs, legs, feet, and flowing onto your toes, relaxing all. Feel as if everything is floating, gently releasing all tension and worry. And as you continue to breathe slowly and easily, bring your mind's eye to a beautiful sunset. As you see this sunset, know that the sun will rise in the morning, bringing in the light of love as always. Feel that energy of well-being, contentment, gratitude, and peace circulating throughout your body. Breathe in this love and say to yourself, I welcome the light. Breathe in and repeat, I welcome the light. Keep this image of your beautiful sunset and repeat, I welcome the light with each breath as we prepare to enter into the silence. If your mind wanders, just return your attention to this divine idea and repeat, I welcome the light with each breath you take. And now we gently move into the silence. I invite you to bring your attention again to your breath, recognizing the breath as a divine activity of love, peace, and wholeness within you. Now take a deep breath in and slowly breathe out. See how calm and gentle your breathing is and how relaxed your body feels. Notice the sounds around you. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Feel your clothes against your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Shrug your shoulders. Open your eyes and feel the blessing of these divine souls around you. And now we're going to have a song with David, Clocks.
I used to think I had a problem with time, and I discovered it was with clocks. And let's say I wasn't any too pleased about it. It's kind of an odd song to do after a meditation because it's kind of violent, but stay with me. Take all the clocks in the world, smash them underneath my heels, beat them with my fists. I want to stomp up and down, show those little dictators how it really feels. I spit my sour stomach acid on them till I collapse with fatigue. I dedicate my bleeding ulcers to them till it's a low-down shame. Oh, I never met a clock I didn't really hate. Seems I'm always the last one in line. No clock ever did a thing for me but make me late when I thought I was doing just fine. I don't get no kicks, I don't get no laughs, nothing to soothe my aching head. Can't have no fun when I'm looking at my wrist. I might as well be dead. Met a clock I didn't really hate. Seems I'm always the last one in line. No clock ever did a thing for me but make me late when I thought I was doing just fine. I want to beat, stomp, smash, kick, shatter, pulverize, wipe out, demolish, and nullify, rip up, tear apart, bash and trample, devastate, eradicate, and totally mangle. I want to crush, blast, wreck, break, and destroy till I collapse with fatigue and have to sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep and meet time face to face, become friends and wake to the timeless. Wake to the timeless day. Wake to the timeless day. Wake to the timeless day. Wake to the timeless day.
Thank you, Michael. I'm not going to look at a clock the same way again. The timeless day. I like that. Yeah. Well, we are now so privileged to have our message today, Unfathomable Creation. Unfathomable creation. What does that mean, or is it? So what I want to do is welcome our speaker today, Michael Quinn. Michael, we are so thrilled to have you. So come on up and let us have it.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here too. I was especially looking forward to seeing Mary Ann here. She promised me a carrot cake. So Mary Ann, if you're watching live stream at home, please know that you're not off the hook. I expect that on my next visit. Thank you. You know, it's wonderful to hear your laughter. As I was preparing my remarks, I remember reading something that Pope Francis several months ago put out a request to all the priests in the world under his jurisdiction. And his request was, please limit all your homilies to no more than 10 minutes. Because he said, other than that, after that, you get lost. People don't follow you anymore. So put your time and energy in to those 10 minutes in all your homilies. Now, am I going to speak to you only for 10 minutes? No. But if anybody gets antsy or you decide that after 10 minutes or so you want to get up and walk around, and I think there's cookies out in the kitchen, just absolutely go out and enjoy it. I won't be offended at all. I only ask one thing, and that is, make sure you return in time for the passing around of the collection plate. I think even Pope Francis would agree to that. Okay, what's up with creation is unfathomable. It's enjoyable to hear laughter in church. You know, the church I grew up with, I don't recall ever experiencing laughter, and we all know that laughter is certainly very, very healthy. And as I was preparing these remarks, I came across a wonderful, wonderful quote by Martin Luther, way back in the 1400s. And I'm going to tell you what he said, but I want you to listen very closely. It's only one sentence long, but it has very deep theological roots, and I don't want you to miss a word. Martin Luther wrote, "If I'm not allowed to laugh in heaven, then I don't think I want to go there." Isn't that a wonderful quote? I'm sure he eventually got there, and I'm sure there's a lot of laughter in heaven. And I just thought that was so appropriate. Let's continue the laughter. Let's continue this idea of fun, okay? What I'm going to ask you to do is to use your imagination now. The imagination is that we're going to imagine that the Unity Church here encompasses the entirety of the universe. And you, the congregation, represent the entirety of all sentient life in the universe. Okay? It's a pretty big honor, isn't it? And now what we're going to do, Jan hasn't seen her good friend Jeff on this side of the universe for a long, long time, so she wants to go visit Jeff. Fortunately, Jan has access to a spaceship that travels at the speed of light, which you remember from your high school days is 186,000 miles a second or something. That's like 7 trillion miles a year. So Jan gets on her spaceship and she starts to travel across the universe to see Jeff. And I've used this example at other presentations I made, and I asked the question, how long will it take Jan to get to the other side of the universe to see Jeff? And the answers usually come back are in the neighborhood of 100 years. At the speed of light, 100 years to get to the other side of the universe. And so Jan, she travels and she eventually gets there, and she parks the spaceship and she gets out, and sure enough, Jeff is sitting there. But unfortunately, his body has long since assumed room temperature. I'm so sorry, Jeff. May you rest in peace. Of course, Jan is very disappointed. She gets back in her spaceship to prepare for her trip back home. But she looks in the cockpit window and she sees the odometer, and she looks at the odometer and it reads 720 followed by 15 zeros. Now, Jan, as you all know, is a very bright woman. She does some quick calculations in her head. She knows that she had to be traveling longer than 100 years. And so she continues with her calculations, and lo and behold, she's determined that, yes, that number 100 is correct, except that it's missing 3 zeros. Jan had actually traveled 100,000 years across the diameter of the universe to see Jeff. No wonder he had reached room temperature. Huh? I mean, it's just... And then she decides to call up a navigation chart on the cockpit window to make sure that her trip back goes as smoothly as possible. And lo and behold, she makes another even bigger discovery. And what is that discovery? Yes, she did travel 100,000 miles, but Jan only covered the diameter of our Milky Way galaxy. That's all. One galaxy, 100,000 years at the speed of light, and we're an average-sized galaxy. That's how long it took her. Do you begin to get the sense of, when we're talking about the unfathomable, our own galaxy is unfathomable with its millions and millions of suns and billions of planets, and we can't begin to understand what's going on in our own galaxy, much less other galaxies, which then begs the bigger question, doesn't it? How many galaxies are there? No one knows the exact answer, of course, but several years ago I read where NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, they came up with an estimate. It was just an estimate. And would you believe their estimate was 2 trillion galaxies? I can't get my head around 1 trillion of anything, much less 2 trillion galaxies. Think of the unfathomableness of just Jan's trip across our Milky Way galaxy and how unfathomable that is, and how unfathomable it is to even think of 2 trillion galaxies in our universe. And we also know now that there are fairly reliable scientific theories that says that we live in a metaverse, that we are only one of a multitude of universes. I can't get my head around that either. And then there's what they call parallel universes. You've heard of parallel universes, that for every universe that exists, there's an identical one that exists, but it's in a different dimension. I don't know about you guys, but I have enough trouble in the morning just putting my pants on. I can't encompass this idea of a parallel universe. It's just too much for me. When our son Derek was a teenager, I said to him one day, I said, "Derek, for your 18th birthday, I'm going to give you a very special gift." And his eyes got big, and I knew he thought I was going to buy him a car. Not. I said, "Derek, I'm going to write you a book. And in that book, it'll be my legacy to you. And in that book, I will answer the 3 basic questions that all sentient beings eventually in their life have to ask themselves. Those questions are, who or what made me? Why did they make me? And what's my future destiny?" And so I wrote that book, and that book was called Chop Wood, Carry Water, Listening to the Whispers. And when I got the first copy in the mail, I sent a copy to a bookbinder in Boston who bound it in leather and gold gilding and gold embossed lettering on the cover, and I gave it to my son on his 18th birthday. And I read to him, I said, "Derek, I wanted to read something to you that's in the introduction to this book." And what I read was, "Derek, you are one of those incredible manifestations of the Creator. This book is written for you, dedicated to you. Your mother and I have often remarked that the moment of your birth marked the first time in our lives that we experienced the true meaning of unconditional love." So he appreciated that gift, certainly. And the reason I'm mentioning this book and bringing it here is that there's a chapter in this book called God, the Cosmic Popcorn Popper. That was originally going to be the title of my presentation this morning, and I shared it with Linda, and she said she didn't think it would be very appropriate, and I think the actual word she used was stupid. So I changed it. I always go by Linda's advice, and I'm not patronizing her either. She's always spot on with just everything. But God, the Cosmic Popcorn Popper, was my way of giving some insight into where we all came from. And so I want to read just a couple of paragraphs from that chapter. I should watch the clock, right? I don't want the Pope getting mad at me. So, eventually, all of us will grow out of our state of confusion and accept the reality of a universe filled with life. And sentient beings throughout the universe will recognize our common destiny and our divine heritage. When this happens, we will not be at the end of our evolutionary journey. All the evidence suggests that we will then only begin to recognize the meaning of infinity and, thus, of the truly long-term consequences of our Father's gift of life to us. And the evolutionary process may never end. And why should it? Why would God want to stop the expansion of his own existence? Doesn't it make sense to say that he will want to grow in loving variety throughout all eternity? I see nothing to indicate that God is planning on eventually closing shop. And our discussion thus far has been limited to God's presence in this universe. As glimpsed in chapter 1, there are credible scientific theories that support the notion that our incomprehensible universe may be one of many such universes. And why not? It is easy for me to fathom that a God who is the expression of unbounded, unconditional love would want to spread that love around. And as discussed in chapter 3, some scientists believe that our universe was created in an infinitesimal fraction of a second from a single kernel of virtual matter. Therefore, I can perceive a God who is a virtual cosmic popcorn popper, popping out multiple universes, maybe for the sheer fun of creating. So now you know where you all came from. God has this cosmic popcorn popper. Why not? Which brings me to my dilemma. Here's my dilemma. I could talk about the unfathomableness of the universe all day long. I mean, I just scratched the surface this morning. It's just a very, very fun topic, and it does nothing but increase my appreciation and love for a creator who could create such a magnificent universe. But here's a dilemma. Let's put on our imagination hat again and imagine that bisecting this room is a veil, and that veil extends from the ceiling the whole way down to the floor. And on this side of the veil is the unfathomable universe we just talked about. It's over here. I had read one time, this was wonderful, someone was talking about the unfathomable universe, and he said, you know what? It reminds me of a Bob Dylan concert. If you ever listened to Bob Dylan at a concert, he mumbles the lyrics when he's singing. You can't understand a word he's saying. But hey, dude, that's Bob Dylan up on the stage. In the same way with the unfathomable universe, we don't pretend to understand how God created it or even why. But man, that sure is cool, isn't it? I mean, just take a look at Jan's 100,000-year trip to see Jeff, who didn't have the courtesy to hang around till she got there. We love you, Jeff. When I was here last July, I think, and I made a presentation called "What's Up with Cozy Jesus." Cozy Jesus was a term used by Father Richard Rohr from the Center for Contemplation and Action in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Wonderful, wonderful person. And he used it as a term to indicate our connection with our personal God, whatever it is that we have. Versus this side, which is the unfathomable God, which is, and a quote that I used last July, was from William Thompson, the philosopher who said, we are like flies crawling on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. We have no comprehension whatsoever as to what's under our feet. We can talk about the unfathomable universe over here and express our appreciation and awe, but we really have no comprehension as to why it even exists. There's just this whisper that says there has to be a purpose. There's probably a loving purpose, but it is so beyond my ability to comprehend that I will just leave it on that side of the veil, and we do. We're much more comfortable with this side of the veil, which is our personal God. When I was here last July, I talked about how, everybody's familiar with Genesis. We're made in God's image and likeness, but I suggested that what most of us really do is we turn that around and we make God into our image and likeness, okay? A God that sort of likes the same people we do and dislikes the same people we do, and it's the God who gives Notre Dame's football team extra blessings on game day. That God we're comfortable with. There you go. See? I made the tongue-in-cheek comment back then that, I had a personal revelation on the true nature of God, and that was that he was a liberal Irish Catholic Democrat. How could he not be? In my terms, how could he not be a liberal Irish Catholic Democrat? And so the dilemma then is, how do we create a bridge between these two sides of the veil? We don't believe that there's two separate gods, a God that created all this over here and then our personal God over here, that somehow he's in a different heaven, and we know it's all one God. So how do we bridge that? And that's really the focus of what I'm talking about this morning. There's a book called Entering the Castle that was written by Kaylin Mays, who's a wonderful intuitive healer. And Entering the Castle is a book about Teresa of Avila's book, Interior Castle. And it's sort of a roadmap into Teresa's book on how to navigate the 7 mansions that Teresa talks about in the Interior Castle. And Carolyn wrote, "This transcendent aspect of divinity is present in every second, every motion, every thought. To experience this is a profound mystical experience. Such intimacy with the divine is what the mystics identify as love. The spiritual paradox is that we can exist in a universe so vast and impersonal, yet be so intimately known to the divine being so that every detail of our lives somehow matters." See the bridge being formed? And the bridge beckons us to ask the question, how can we experience more of that and experience more of the personal God, our cozy Jesus, and have that transform and transition more into devotion? The interesting thing that we talked about, this is not two separate gods, and I guess my message is, the underlying message here suggests that the way to know God is to abandon consideration of God's particular attributes, our intellectual biases on both sides of the veil, and be courageous enough to surrender one's mind and ego to the realm of unknowing, at which point one may begin to glimpse the true nature of God. Did you hear me say abandon consideration of God's particular attributes? That may make you uncomfortable. I can think some of you might be thinking, Michael, I think you're 2 sandwiches short of a picnic. We're just not used to that kind of advice. So let's look at one of my favorite books. It's called The Cloud of Unknowing. It's an anonymous work of Christian mysticism written in the 14th century. The text is a spiritual guide on contemplative prayer. And in The Cloud, and the author is anonymous, but he or she writes, "Only he who experiences it will really understand. The message here is not to explain, but to reach a state of consciousness where we see for ourselves. The author exhorts us to go after experience rather than knowledge. Knowledge may deceive you. Knowledge tends to breed conceit. You must simply sit in meditation." You may ask, exactly where is the transcendent? It appears to be nowhere. Exactly. Nowhere physically is everywhere spiritually. The Cloud's author states, "No one can possess God through knowledge. I prefer to be lost in this nowhere, wrestling with this blind nothingness, than to be like some great lord traveling everywhere and enjoying the world as if he owned it. Forget that kind of everywhere and the world's all. It pales in richness besides this blessed nothingness and nowhere. Don't worry if your faculties fail to grasp it. Actually, that is the way it should be, for this nothingness is so lofty that they cannot reach it. It cannot be explained, only experienced." I was obviously late getting here this morning, as most of you know, and I hope to get here in time to go over my notes so I wouldn't be flipping through and what's the next thing to say. But that's okay too, because I found that it allows me to be more spontaneous and less structured and maybe speaking a little more closely from the heart. We know that God is there on both sides of the veil, but most of us are content with leaving that God to the mystics to discover. But what if I were to tell you that we are the saints, we are the mystics, and there is no mysticism? Manifesting the experience of God, touching the face of God, is a divine grace that each of us is welcome to receive, that each of us is beckoned to receive, and that every one of us is worthy to receive. But we don't know where to look for the unfathomable God. Meister Eckhart, who is a famous poet and mystic, I think he's 13th or 14th century, he said another one of these really heavy-duty theological statements. He said, God is within. It is we who have gone out for a walk. Isn't that beautiful? We know the kingdom of heaven is within. We hear that all the time, but that's just a metaphor for consciousness. Consciousness is the key to unlocking the door to experience more and more of the unfathomable God. Linda and I have a very good friend, Dorothy Rowe, who is just one of the most remarkable people we've ever met in our life. She's certainly a powerful healer, but most of her healing work has to do with teaching others to heal themselves. And that is just so beautiful. And she said something to us recently that I want to read to you. And Linda and I both feel that Dorothy is the embodiment of what I'm about to read to you. She said, "This knowingness, the experience of divine ecstasy, this consciousness is our destiny. Every one of us will eventually experience this divine union with Creator. And this unification with the source of creation will bring absolute fulfillment, and this deep state will never disappoint, will never let us down, will always be present, and will never lose it." End quote. But these words about divine union and divine ecstasy, they're just words that sometimes make us feel good unless we can translate those words, which are, think of them as cosmic seeds. If we can't plant them in a soil that nourishes those seeds and allows those seeds and those experiences, to germinate and to grow. And that requires sometimes spiritual discipline. Carolyn Mays talks about that. It doesn't do any good to come to a service and hear nice words and shake our heads and have cookies afterwards, and without understanding that what do we take away from us? What do we take away with us when we leave? How do we nourish that aspect of the unfathomable that we know is there, that's whispering to us all the time? And are we prepared to do the daily discipline in meditation or contemplative silence that allows that to mature? Jan's meditation this morning ends with the importance of silence. Most of you have probably heard the aphorism from the mystic poet Rumi, who said, "Silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation." It's silence. So what can we say about the contemplative experience to develop this special state of consciousness that is uniquely different from our waking, sleeping, and dreaming states of consciousness? We're all familiar with the traditional way to know God through prayer, images, concepts, rituals. But the mystics through the ages sought to create a balance between the necessities of possessing a personal relationship with God through prayer and the need to practice what they call the prayer of quiet. This prayer uses no words. This contemplative method of meditation does not use images, requests, intercessions, and rituals. It involves the quieting of one's spirit and the settling into the essence of being, which allows one to be found in the presence of God. And over time, we come to understand more fully that God is transcendent, uncontainable. Then we may come to a place that points beyond conceptions so that we may start to discover what God is not and allow room for what we can hardly conceive, that God is no thing, but simultaneously everything. In this inner silence, it allows God to open a sacred dialogue with us, a profound dialogue without words that is translated spontaneously by our hearts to proclaim undeniably that we are indeed made in God's image. And eventually you'll hear God whisper, Jan, "I will not be done with you until you are as much me as I am you." This is our destiny. And at this point, you are now being heard by God in a way that is infinitely deeper than you are even beginning to be capable of hearing. That sentence came from Thomas Merton. And once you reach this point, it begins to dawn very beautifully, very experientially, that unlike unfathomable creation, or is it? This is where the unfathomable begins to become fathomable. And it is beyond words. This sounds like it might take a really long time, but what else we got to do that's better, more important? We're eternal creatures. We live for eternity. And so there's plenty of time to have these experiences. Some people believe that, we will be reborn on earth many times and have many lifetimes, and those experiences on earth, each time we come back, that'll allow us to move forward towards evolving toward this state of unification with the divine. Others believe that when we die, we go to a heavenly realm, and as our Father said, there are many mansions there, and that's what we'll experience, these different mansions as we proceed towards divine union. And what's really interesting about when we make that step across the threshold is that we find that our intentions are immediately manifested. And those intentions are a reflection of the degree of evolution that we had before we died. And so if you envision, you want to sit on cloud 9 and play a harp and be serenaded by a legion of angels, that's exactly what you're going to get. And you can do it for as long as you want. However, at some point, Jan, you're going to ask the question, is this all there is? And then your spirit guide will step out from behind cloud 9 and say, Jan, I heard your question. Won't you please take my hand and follow me, because I have some more exciting things I want to show you. And off you'll go to something else. Now, am I talking wishful thinking? No, not really. You know, here's why. Linda and I have been very blessed. I mean blessed to, we are prayer partners with a priest by the name of Father Nathan Castle. He's a Dominican priest from Tucson, Arizona. And Father Castle, I met him at a annual conference of the International Association for Near-Death Studies 3.5 years ago. And I was presenting on a panel having to do with a book that we'll talk about this afternoon, Assisting the Actively Dying. And Father had written a book called Afterlife Interrupted. Father, for the last 30 years, has this special gift whereby people who die in trauma, they are brought by their guardian angel to him in a dream, and they briefly describe the situation of their untimely death. And then what Father does, and he wakes up in the morning, he writes that information down in a journal, and then he convenes a session with the prayer partners. And at that time, the first thing he does is he convenes what he refers to as a communion of saints. He invites particularly St. Michael the Archangel for protection, and then invites a range of saints to be there and present to help with this transition which was about to occur. And the guardian angel and the soul that comes forth, they use Father's voice. Father maintains a dual state of consciousness. He's conscious just as we are now, but he has this other state of consciousness that's tuned in to whomever's talking to him from the other side. And they use his voice, which he feels is consecrated for this work. And those angels and those souls talk directly to the prayer partner. And that's where the dialogue occurs between them and the prayer partner. And essentially, the soul tells their story of their untimely death, either through accident, murder, sometimes suicide. And these are all conversations that Linda and I have had we've had like 70 different sessions now where we have these conversations. And what's interesting, and it goes back to the point that I was making about taking Jan's hand and walking with her, is that after they explain their story, we asked them, they have been working on moving forward before they come to Father Nathan. And at the point that they come to him, they're ready to move on. And the prayer partner will ask them, do you want anybody to come with you to take your hand to move to this next stage? And they all do. They may ask a deceased parent, a deceased friend, any number of people they could ask. And sometimes, very interestingly, they'll ask people of historical and spiritual significance, masters. You know, we recently talked to Dwight Eisenhower. Okay, we've talked to Mother Mary 3 times, which is just an experience beyond what we could even talk about. And they come forth, and they usually will stop, and they will all, before they make that transition with the soul, they will talk to us, give us insights into different things. And all these sessions are recorded by Father and then subsequently transcribed. So we have transcriptions of every session we've ever had. And it's certainly been one of the most remarkable experiences of our life. So to sum it up, yes, it's all unfathomable, but yet we're starting to hear whispers that say, maybe not so much so that there's opportunities out there for us to begin making those whispers louder and louder through spiritual discipline of daily contemplative or meditation. And we've been doing this for 50 years now, so we're speaking from experience, and we practiced transcendental meditation for 50 years, and we use a mantra to transcend those various mansions that Teresa talks about. And some of the experiences are very profound, but they're very real. And so this work that we're doing with Father Nathan now it just takes that to another level. And in fact, Father called me yesterday and told us that the three of us will be speaking at the annual conference of the International Association for Near-Death Studies in Arlington in September. And instead of being on a panel, we have the entire hour, and we will be going into considerable detail on the specifics of the work that he does and how it assists people with understanding that, number one, death is not to be something to be afraid of. As some people have said, it's like walking into another room. But yet it also lends credence to that idea that union with the Creator is our destiny. Every single one of us will experience it at some point because we are eternal beings. And that really comes down to the purpose of why we were created to begin with. It's to make that loop back to Creator and unify with the Creator. And that from the people who have experienced that, there's literally no words to describe it. It is just so beyond words that can be expressed. And so I'm just trying to give it a little bit of insight this morning and hope that you hear some of the whispers, and I think some of you have. And by the way, a few years ago, I wrote an essay called Suffering from a Catalepsy, Learning to Love the Questions. And a lot of what I talked about this morning is contained in this essay. And I have a copy of this essay for everybody here this morning. So before you leave, it'll be in the back somewhere. And I have some pass-outs too that I think you might find interesting. So please take it with you, and God bless you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you want me to do the prayer too?
Oh, we're done.
What?
We're done.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael. Oh, that was mine, sorry. Thank you, Michael. Wow, I can't wait for the workshop.
Pardon me?
I can't wait for the workshop that's coming up next.
It'll be a lot of fun. Don't leave your box of tissues at home. You know, it's going to be very uplifting.
We're going to find out how death can be fun.
Right.
All right, okay.
And Jeff is our man of honor.
And Jeff, who happens to be my husband, is our man of honor. Yay, Jeff. So look at all this wonderful stuff we get to do, all these experiences we share, all of the blessings that we are given. How do we do that? We do that through our prosperity. You make it possible for us to bring people in and have these wonderful experiences, have these wonderful musicians, have our wonderful speakers. So this is prosperity. And in unity, it's through God's love and God's unlimited supply, each one of us prospers. So we really gratefully acknowledge the many ways that we have seen this. So open your hearts, open your wallet, realize that as much as you give, you receive more back. And over the, many years I've been in unity now, it has proved it every time. The more I give, the more grateful I am, the more comes back. And I am blessed. So it is now time for you to have your donation ready. We will have our people collect your blessing. And let's say our prosperity prayer together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. Michael hit it. Prayer of St. Francis. David hit it.
Both are names of honor. I take either one. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there is doubt, true faith in Master, grant that I may never see so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Channel of your peace. Where there's despair in life, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, only light. And where there is sadness, ever joy. Master, grant that I may never see so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned, in giving of ourselves that we receive, and dying that we're born to eternal life.
So, what's coming up these days? Well, first of all, we've got this wonderful workshop right after the service. So if you're not here yet, hurry! It's going to be wonderful. Also, so the workshop today is from 12:30 to 2:30. So those of you out there, that gives you a little time. We've got, it's only a little bit before 12. Hey, let's do it. It's going to be wonderful. All right. Also, on Sunday, March 26th, from 11:45 to 2, we are going to have Edgar Casey's Western Yoga for All. And Kenna Raymond is going to tell us a little bit about that workshop. Come on up, Kenna.
Yes, if you heard Doug Knuven speak in January, he gave us a little sampling of the Edgar Casey exercises he showed us. But basically, I'm going to be speaking on, there was a Edgar Casey student Peter Van Dam, who developed the Western Yoga for All. It's for any age, any condition, any place, for cleansing and strengthening body and mind and awakening the soul. I love his little description that he says, no matter where you are on the scale of fitness, A 15-minute daily investment using these gentle, low-impact morning lymphatic exercises will restore flexibility, strength, energy, improve your balance, reduce your fall risk, prevent the gradual decline of body and mind function associated with physical inactivity. And Peter's statement is, you only need a small space, soft shoes, comfortable clothes, and 15 minutes, and you'll be feeling better in no time. I was down at the Virginia Beach, and at the workshops you take, he would do these in the morning before you started your workshop. And I remember that I loved his exercises even much more than the workshop that I was actually taking. And when I started these exercises about, 15 or 16 years ago, I remember even after just 2 weeks of doing them that I really felt increased strength in my center. I really felt that strength of spirit within, even within 2 weeks. So I actually noticed that more than anything. But very simple, low impact exercises. They definitely help lymphatic drainage, definitely help strength, flexibility, and balance. So encourage you to come. That's in 2 weeks, and I'll be providing a light lunch. And then we're actually going to do a little heart math meditation. So we're going to do a little meditation first. I'll talk to you about the background of these exercises, and then we'll do them. And really, they only take about 15 minutes. So come and join us. I think that you would get some benefit. They're really amazing. And as a physical therapist, I try to include these when I'm working with my patients, and most of them find that they like these much better than the traditional exercises. So come and join us. Yeah.
Thank you, Kenna. Good information. Now, save the date. April 22nd, Reverend Shad Groverland is coming to Pittsburgh to give us a wonderful workshop. So, the power of focused ministry.
Can I speak about that?
Oh, yes. Watch the time.
Okay. I arranged for Shad Groverland to come. He's the president and CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries. And he's been going around the country doing these workshops to help us to invigorate and grow Unity centers. So again, he's the president and CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries. It's a fabulous workshop, so I'd encourage everyone to join. The registration cost suggested is $50, but it's a sliding scale. So whatever you can pay, just come and join us. On that, it's a Saturday, and it's scheduled from 10 to 3. Lunch is provided from 12 to 1. I clarified that, 10 to 3. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so it starts 9 to 4 when he does it in May. But so we'll be providing lunch, and like I said, the registration cost, all of that money goes to the Unity Center of Pittsburgh. So he doesn't take any of the money. They provide all of his travel. So whatever the registration cost is goes to the Unity Center of Pittsburgh. They're going to market that in the tri-state area. So we're hoping for board members and Unity members and ministers from the tri-state area to join us. So please do register. Go online and please register. This is going to be a big event for us and to help us to really vitalize, invigorate our centers. So I'm very excited about him coming.
Thank you again, Kenna. So we are having a commitment campaign. Basically, this is another opportunity for you to increase your monthly tithe, which again is prosperity. It says everything we need to know up there. We are looking to hire an operations manager, and the Give Butter donation, smooth as butter. It'll be up and running smoothly, butter-like soon. We can do this. We can do it. Anyway, the information you need is right there. Please think about that and go online and check it out. Also, time for new board members. We're looking at you out there. So talk with any of our board members right now and see if that's something you would like to look into. You are welcome to be part of us. and more of a commitment. It's amazing. All right, it's time for our peace song. We have brought the peace song back. Let's everybody stand and stay in place. This time we're not going to do the circle like we have in the past. The most constant thing in the world is change. We are changing this up a little bit. Hit it, David.
Everybody. Let
There is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. Now there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Peace has begun with me, and this is the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. All right, and let's close with our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds me. I am light. The love of God enfolds me. I am love. The power of God protects me. I am power. The presence of God watches over me. I am presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Have a great week, everyone, and see you at the workshop.
You're welcome.
Doing the Michael thing.
That's okay.
We made it. We did it.